he's one of those guys that, you think of kickboxing range, boxing range. Stephen Thompson takes that and he turns it on his head. Stephen Thompson can kick you from a clinch range to the head. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
So, Nick, the co-main event for this pay-per-view coming up, not this weekend, but the one after, we got Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Amazing.
This is a really great matchup. I mean, we always say styles make fights. This is a strong, grappling heavy, tough, durable guy in Gilbert Burns, one of the more decorated jiu-jitsu players that's ever fought in the division, against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, possibly the most prolific striker that's ever come out of welterweight. This is really going to be an exciting fight, and I think it's just going to really come down to who can make it happen where they want to make it happen.
Yeah, and the game plan's really going to show for both of these guys. Like, we have to really look at this and think of the days of old where, you have the typical argument of, this is typical striker versus grappler matchup. But I think it's a step further, a step deeper. It's like UFC in the early 90s where you have a karate guy coming in against a decorated jiu-jitsu guy. Like, it's really cool. Obviously, both these guys know how to do a little bit of everything, or a lot of everything, actually. It's a great fight for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He takes him one step closer to a title fight, which he deserves. Everybody would love to see Wonderboy with a title around his waist. I think a win over Gilbert could certainly set him up for that, even in such a stacked division of welterweight.
I think you're right. I think Stephen Thompson really is a tough matchup for anybody, including Kamaru Usman. And, Stephen Thompson's one of those guys. He came into this as a karate guy. One of the funniest story, something I saw on social media the other day, was Brendan Schaub talking about when George St. Pierre was training with them up in Colorado. And he said, I want to invite my friend up for a couple of weeks. He's like a next level striker. And we want to, bring him in and let him, work with us and show us some striking and stuff. And Brendan said, we were all like, whatever. We're going to kick this guy's ass. And then George was like, they called him the Wonderboy. And Schaub was like, oh, we're really going to kick this guy's ass. He's probably some young kid, like some young karate kid. And he goes, dude, that guy showed up at our gym and he kicked our asses. And he goes, I could never believe that such a skinny guy that's a karate guy. He said it was like the movie Rush Hour from the casino scene when Chris Tucker was kicked in the face by one of the mafia members. And he goes, hold on, which one of you just kicked me?
Yeah.
He said it was like that. And I thought that was so funny. And I thought that, that's a perfect way to describe Wonderboy. I mean, the angles in which he throws the kicks, the selection of kicks and how he mixes them into his strikes. He's one of those guys that, you think of kickboxing range, boxing range. Stephen Thompson takes that and he turns it on his head. Stephen Thompson can kick you from a clinch range to the head. I've never seen anything like it before. And obviously his grappling has come a long way. He's working with some really good guys, some Division I wrestlers that we actually know, to really bring him along as far as that goes. Gilbert Burns has proven he's very durable. This is going to be an excellent fight.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And Gilbert obviously is trying to get back to his winning ways and, prove that he's still one of the best welterweights in the world. Wonderboy, he's just a staple in that division now. Like, if you can beat Wonderboy, you are as legit as it gets. Even though he's a little bit older than some of the guys in the division, he's twice as skilled as a lot of them. And certain guys can... The only way you can beat Wonderboy is you have to make it a boring fight. You have to take him down and hold him there. But he's getting better at getting up off the ground. He's getting better at not letting you take him to the ground, not letting you get a hold of his legs and stuff. So I think we're going to see Wonderboy control the range and try to move on the outside and pick Gilbert apart, while Gilbert's kind of charging him, trying to get off his striking and offense of his own with the hands, and then looking for that takedown to try to hold him down. Because if Gilbert can get this fight to the ground, it's going to be a lot of trouble for Wonderboy. But if, Wonderboy, he's, like you said, he can be right there in range and you're not hitting him, and then he's tagging you, and then he's so good with his his angles and his footwork, and he doesn't move back and forth exclusively. He moves side to side better than anybody else that I've ever seen. And yeah, this fight really should be a great co-main event on a completely stacked card.
Yeah, for sure. And, conventional wisdom tells you that the younger, stronger, more active guy is going to win the fight.
Right.
I'm kind of leaning towards Wonderboy to win this fight. I think that when I was watching Gilbert compete against Kamaru, although Gilbert is very durable, very tough, and very strong, he is hittable.
Yeah.
And Wonderboy is so sharp and so crisp. And I think he's going to land some leg kicks and body kicks early that really make Gilbert respect the striking, and then he's going to be implementing that beautiful feinting that he does, feinting up top and kicking you down low, or faking or hitting you with a few low kicks and then going high. Yep. I think Gilbert's style lends to being caught by somebody like a Wonderboy Thompson. And I don't know that Wonderboy in a 3-round co-main event is going to be able to finish Burns, but I think that Wonderboy will be fresh as a daisy come the end of this fight, and I think he will have landed enough significant strikes to have won a clear-cut decision against a very tough Burns.
Yeah, and 3 rounds will make this a very interesting, high-paced fight because they both really need to win rounds, and that's how I see this fight going. One's going to try to hold Wonderboy's going to try to not get held down, and Gilbert Burns is going to try to hold him down. And if Wonderboy can move around really well and keep that distance and win a couple of rounds really easily, then he can kind of play catch me if you can all around the octagon for the remainder of the time. Not saying that he'll do that. He usually comes to fight the entire duration of the fight, and he's used to 25-minute rounds, 25-minute fights. But I like Wonderboy in this situation because he's one of the only guys I've ever seen in all of MMA who can fight perfectly for 25 or 15 minutes, whatever he's dealt that night. That's sort of when we were talking about Derek Lewis versus Cyril Gane. Was my issue with Cyril Gane is, he's a really good fighter, but he's got to fight perfect for 25 minutes against Derek Lewis, and Derek really only has to crack him once or twice, and it's the end of the night for him. Wonderboy is actually capable of fighting a perfect game plan. And I'm not saying he fights perfectly, right? But he has a game plan and he's able to execute it perfectly and for the duration of the fight. So I think that's really going to play into his hand. And I think he knows this is maybe his last major push for a title, a title run. And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to get fazed by the fact that he's on the Conor McGregor card. There's a million, pay-per-view plus buys watching you perform. I think he's cool, calm, and collected. Seems to be like, just the right guy for the situation. And I think he's going to deal with the pressure and probably get the victory.
That's a good point. And, some people do really have, they get a little gun shy and they get a little hesitant on those big cards. And some people really rise to the occasion.
Or they expose themselves too much and then you get cracked by a good striker.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is that's worth noting about Wonderboy is we always say that, speed and quickness goes before strength goes.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, as you get into your late 30s and early 40s, as a man, that's probably the strongest that you will ever be, but you might not be the fastest that you will ever be, which is why you see grapplers, Daniel Cormier, for example, people like that are able to really do well and win championship belts over that 40 mark or just under that 40 mark.
Right.
And Stephen Thompson has been able to do that, not win a belt yet, but be able to compete at the top as a striker. Yeah. And that's kind of uncommon. And I think that's worth noting. And it's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, he's looked just as good, if not better, in his most recent bouts than he has in all of his best fights in the UFC. So he's definitely defying age, and he defies the laws of gravity and all kinds of other things when he's fighting and striking and kicking and jumping. And, I'm a little bit biased because I've always been a big fan of Wonderboy. I love Gilbert Burns. I think he's a great fighter. I don't think this is an easy fight at all. I think both guys are going to take their battle wounds, but I just feel like there's something in the air that's telling me that Wonderboy is going to keep the win streak alive and keep moving forward. And then, since he's the only guy in the top 5 that hasn't got a shot at Kamaru Usman, he deserves that title shot. And I really think that would be a fun fight if he's able to get past Gilbert Burns.
I think you're right. The NMF himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know in the comments, do you think a 38-year-old Stephen Thompson has one last title run in him, and is he going to get past Gilbert Burns? Or is the younger, tough Brazilian fighter going to spoil the day? Let us know, and a like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check us out there as well. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Peace.